News for now. I'm Frank Sparks, Beaver County Radio News, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WNBA, and beavercountyradio.com.
Turn off your TV, turn on your mind, and turn up that radio. It's AM Beaver County on 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and 1460 WNBA.
And we're back on this Tuesday morning edition of AM Beaver County. And we're now going to talk a little bit about amateur radio. Not the one you're usually used to listening to on my show, but the actual, legitimate amateur radio, as we have members from the Beaver Valley Amateur Radio Association joining us this morning. And gentlemen, I'll have you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name's Rich Soltez, and I've been a ham for quite a few years. My call sign is K3SOM, simply out of money.
So there is a little bit of a meaning behind that. I like that. I like that.
I'm Tony Pavlonis, and my call sign is K3AHP. And I've been a ham for 61 years, and been doing this field day event that we're going to be talking about almost that long. So
wow,
yeah,
wow. So let's talk about field day, because it's one of those things that a lot of people think what exactly is amateur radio, what is ham radio, because people have heard the term ham radio. What is ham radio? And this would be an opportunity for them to come find out, would it not?
Well, I'll start off with the name ham as far as radio is concerned. And that probably dates back to about the 1900s, when professional telegraph operators resented being infringed upon, in a sense, by amateurs. And so amateurs, in one sense, may have been a derivation. The ham came from that, or else it was a derogatory description. We couldn't tell.
They could have called us a lot of other names, but they chose ham because as in ham-fisted, perhaps, as in ham actor. Okay. Those telegraph operators were really fast. They could send code faster than you could talk. They were amazing guys that talked all day long, and like Rich said, they resented the amateurs that were encroaching on their business by stumbling through the Morse code characters, and so they said, well, those guys are really ham-fisted operators, and so perhaps that's where it started. Although I guess the real answer is nobody really knows where it came from.
I would have just wanted to be there. I mean, because I obviously in the year of 2022, technology is so far advanced from what it was in the 1900s. But I can only imagine, that slow realization through Morse code on a ham radio, someone typing code that they were calling you out and saying very mean, nasty things about you in such that slow manner. It's like H-A, wait, what is this here? that right. It would just seem so bizarre. But at the same time, the ham radio origins sort of have led us to where we are now, not just on the professional side of things, but also the ongoing enjoyment, the ongoing, education of ham radio,
right,
which again leads to moments like this field day that's coming up. I believe it is this weekend coming up.
Yes, it is. It'll be beginning Saturday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and extend for basically 24 hours, continuous until Sunday at 2 p.m. And the purpose of it started back in the 1930s, was when the first field day began. And initially it was a pure contest among clubs, radio clubs, as opposed to allowing individuals to contribute to the success of field day. And the purpose of it was really to get hams ready for emergencies. In other words, the purpose was to take your equipment on a moment's notice, so to speak, out into a remote location, perhaps a park, perhaps at the top of a hill somewhere. Bring your own pieces of wire and whatever you could for antennas, and also a source of power like a gasoline generator. And every year, the rules began to change a little bit to improve the techniques. And over a period of time, when you do an event every year like that, individual hams begin to accumulate equipment just for emergency situations. And as a result, as time went on, certain emergencies, natural emergencies, for example, hurricanes, floods, whatever it may be, came to being, and communications was lost in an area. Here in Beaver County, there was a flood that took out all of the telephones completely for a period of a week. And during that emergency, hams were able to successfully help state and local officials communicate with each other, as well as schools as well with the representatives in Harrisburg.
And isn't that where there was this amazing coincidence of times where, it was the field day weekend when, we were, basically trying to do a contest, trying to make contacts, trying to demonstrate our emergency capability. The coincidence was that there was an actual emergency that happened at exactly that same time. So the club was situated to provide exactly what they would demonstrate, communications that were not possible in any other way when the infrastructure fell apart and there was no other way to communicate for emergency services, health and welfare messages, and any other messages that needed to be gotten between the various emergency agencies.
And at the time, we were up in Brady's Run Park in one of the shelters up there. I think it might have been Shelter 13, up on top of a hill up there. Mm-hmm. And as soon as it was realized that we could provide that communication, the county maintenance people were bringing us gasoline, spare gasoline for that entire week, food, wow, other kinds of things. They strapped plastic or whatever equivalent tarps around so we wouldn't get wet inside the shelter from the winds. And it was a wonderful story all the way around. And as a result of that, the county commissioners expressed their gratitude for us helping out and made a proclamation allowing us to use the county parks for our field day exercises every year. And that's been a wonderful gift from the county to say thank you. We keep remembering it. And when new members get their license, then we want to tell them that story and what we can do for the community to help provide that kind of communication.
And that is really an amazing thing, because it's not just, as fun as it can be to sort of be as a hobby, to sort of, have these contests and be able to contact with, whomever from however long of a distance, and we'll get to that. But to have that sort of necessity for it, to have that, sort of magic moment where, the purpose of it sort of comes to life and helps out in such a great way, does sort of allow for this kind of thing, this field day, to sort of maintain not just a, essence of fun, but an essence of importance in Beaver County.
I think one of the nice things about ham radio is that there are so many different directions a new ham can take, and even an experienced ham that has been around for a while can find new interest in a different aspect of the hobby. For example, a lot of younger hams that coming into the hobby prefer to participate in what they call the POTA program, Parks on the Air. In other words, if you set up in a park, maybe it's only a couple hours or so, there are people who are called hunters who try to contact people who are operating at these parks and state game lands. And then there are the activators who actually get out there, set up, maybe they just set up an antenna in the parking lot and operate for a couple hours.
So I think you've got to tell them, Rich, about our POTA experience. We went to Mount Davis, which is the highest point in Pennsylvania. And this was actually a summit on the air, but it's the same idea. And and Rich set up his radio.
First time I ever did an activation like that.
Right, and Rich is kind of a high power guy. He likes to put the pedal to the metal with power and get the results that you get when you have a lot of power. But he had a low power radio,
5 watts.
5 watts. Okay, imagine a 5-watt light bulb. Okay, that's
right.
Okay,
Not very bright.
No.
and set up of course, a temporary antenna out in the field. And next thing you know, Rich, who were you talking to?
My first 2 contacts were both in Germany.
Oh, geez.
In Germany, yeah.
In Germany on a 5-watt
On
radio.
5 watts.
5
yeah.
watt
My
radio.
goodness.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was basically about a 10-foot pole
Yeah,
with
exactly.
with 3 radios strung along the ground. But we were up high, and it must have been my voice that did it. but we had fun that day. We really did.
Exactly. And that not only is it impressive reach to just put an antenna on a pole and be able to reach Germany, which just sounds like just something to do for fun in and of itself.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But to also showcase how those who may be interested in ham radio, they can sort of use that as sort of a because long before the age of social media, there was stuff like this, technology like this,
Right.
that allow you to have contacts. We're going to continue talking about this on the other side of the break. We're talking about the Beaver Valley Amateur Radio Association's Field Day coming up this Saturday, starting at 2 and going until Sunday at 2 at Old Economy Park. And we'll continue the conversation after the break here on AM Beaver County.
This is Jim Riggio, General Manager of the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority. From now through the end of July, we will do routine maintenance flushing of the entire water distribution system. This flushing is standard operating procedure for public water supply systems. In fact, it is a requirement of our operating permit from the PADEP. During this flushing period, we will be using chlorine as our primary disinfectant instead of chloramines that we are currently using. During this flushing period, our customers may experience discolored water and or a noticeable odor of chlorine. Please be aware that these are all normal conditions and nothing is wrong with the water. Should you experience discolored water, please let your cold water run for several minutes until the water clears up. A chlorine odor may be present until we return to chloramine disinfectant following the flushing period. The Beaver Falls Municipal Authority is committed to providing safe, dependable, and affordable water to all of our customers. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Friendly Federal Credit Union is honoring graduates this month. Forget the fancy gadgets, jewelry, or lavish parties. Get your graduate a gift that will provide numerous benefits. A graduate account at Friendly Federal Credit Union. This is Cindy Hiladio. Graduate accounts at Friendly Federal include free checks, a $500 credit limit Visa card with approved credit, online access, great personal service, and a debit card tied to the account. Here's the great news. I've got applications for you and your graduate. Your student has until the end of this month to apply for the annual Anthony S. Payne and Carl D. Ross Memorial Scholarships. While they're doing that, you can apply for a low 2.75% home equity loan. Available now with approved credit. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union for more information or click friendlyfcu.org. It's the place that makes more sense for you. Equal housing lender, member NCUA.
You don't have to have had an accident, suffered a sports injury, or undergone surgery to take advantage of the benefits of physical therapy from Dale Reckless at MRS Physical Therapy. At a recent live broadcast at MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater, Dale Reckless talked about treatment for the common foot pain condition, plantar fasciitis.
Plantar fasciitis is a pretty common thing, and I tell my patients, don't wait to come and get some treatment for it. The longer you wait, the more chronic it becomes. We'll still fix it, but it'll just take longer. If you come to see me when you're first getting the symptoms, then I can take care of it a lot quicker. What I do with plantar fasciitis is we give some stretches to do. I do a lot of hands-on exercise, and then I also do an evaluation of how they walk and how they stand. They need the hands-on work that I do to help cure the plantar fasciitis.
If you need physical therapy for any reason, choose the place that your friends and neighbors do. MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater and Cranberry Physical Therapy in Cranberry. Visit mrsphysicaltherapy.com.
Broadcasting globally, talking locally. AM Beaver County is on the World Wide Web at beavercountyradio.com and available on the Beaver County Radio mobile app.
We're back on AM Beaver County on this Tuesday morning. We're talking with the Beaver Valley Amateur Radio Association, and we're talking on the break about just, it's going to be a 24-hour event coming up this Saturday, going into Sunday, and it feels like with all the technology that's out there and all the possibilities that could be had with ham radio, it may take that long to just, learn everything and get like a good night's sleep on top of that. But as far as that goes, since we're on that subject, is there a difference between day and night as far as how much that affects radio waves?
It really does, particularly in the what they call the high frequencies part of the spectrum. Right above the AM band, up to about 30 megahertz is what we consider high frequency. And depending on where the sun is, or where it's at night, different frequencies are more affected by the sun's position. For example, the lower bands, the lower frequencies down between, let's say, 3 to 10 megahertz are primarily daytime bands and open up to longer distances at night. Conversely, above about 10 megahertz up to about 30, they're primarily daytime for those long-haul contacts to Europe, Australia, Asia, and parts thereon too. But at night, they close down the higher bands from 10 to, say, 30 megahertz.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can have a band that's just sizzling. It's alive with so many signals from all over different places. And
12 hours later?
And 12 hours later, it's absolutely dead as a doornail.
It looks like a flat line on the screen.
It is. It's the flat line. It's that there is nothing there.
But there's good news, because we're on the upswing of what they call the solar cycle. The sunspot numbers are increasing and increasing, and by 2025, it is going to be unbelievable. Right. This cycle looks like it's going to be quite higher than the last two cycles. It's an 11-year cycle, and it is going to be truly exciting for ham radio.
That sounds very exciting. It sounds, again, like the forces of nature are allowing for this to continue in its proper direction.
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing like making a contact like Rich did with Germany. I'd had the same experience talking to a station in Brazil with I think I was using 7 watts at the time. And there's nothing that will lead you to do your happy dance than to contact somebody with 7 watts. My sister-in-law said with a little peanut whistle that's the size of a bar of soap, and that's the new technology. Although there's a lot of experimentation that goes on too. Field day is a good opportunity to try out different antennas, different configurations. So there's no done deals here. That there's some things are surefire. We know they'll work, and there's other things that we'll experiment with, and that goes with antennas and also with radios. That you can have a high-tech radio, like I said, with that's a bar of soap. On the other hand, you might have somebody who built a radio down in their basement that's a very simple circuit, and the goal is to see what can I do with this simple circuit, and it's amazing what you can get.
Perhaps one of the easiest ways to experiment and tinker at low cost is experimenting with different kinds of antennas, because the entry barrier to operating and coming up with a new antenna consists of pieces of wire, a couple insulators, and some rope to throw it through the trees or wherever you're going to put it in. And that doesn't cost a great deal of money at all.
And I was thinking that, the antenna, the analogy would be to a car. You could have a Lamborghini, but if you don't have tires, it doesn't do you much good. And so the antenna is kind of like your tires. It's what makes everything happen. You can have a really nice car, but without the rubber meeting the road, it's not going to give you any results. So we experiment with antennas as well as with radios.
Again, and all of this can be learned, all of this can sort of be dealt with, and all of this can be experimented on right here in Beaver County during the weekend. Here at the field day, it'll be coming up Saturday, 2 p.m. to 2 p.m., and basically all you need to do is show up and have your radio, right?
Well, or will help you get on the air and talk
Right.
as well. And you can be just like I'm here in front of a microphone talking to you. We have visitors that will do all the control of the knobs and everything. You just sit down and we'll tell you what to say, and it's a lot of fun. What's really fun, though, and we enjoy this, is that there's magic about a child's voice.
Wow.
Radio, yeah.
Or a woman's voice, for that matter. And it's just amazing how people just want to help out others in this hobby. And when they hear a boy, for example, trying to make contacts, boy, that's what they call a pile-up. Everybody's calling that boy at the same time. And in fact, hopefully next week, we're going to have a 11-year-old trying out for his license. And he's been studying. We think he'll probably make it.
That's awesome.
And I'm a former 11-year-old that when I got my first license. So that was in December of 1960. So.
Wow.
That is all super, super cool. That is all super cool. Unfortunately, we have to move along because of everything, but I do thank you guys so much for coming in.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to ask us to come in, and it's our pleasure to do this.
Absolutely. And we'll have full details about how you can be a part of Field Day coming up at Beaver County Radio later on this morning, and Teleform's next following the news.
It's amazing just